are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So, how was your weekend, everyone? Was it good? Did you live your dreams? Did you try and cram the dreams that you put on hold for the whole week into the weekend? Saturday, Sunday, I can live my dreams. There's enough time. What dreams anyway? What am I talking about? I'm living my dreams at the moment. It's a fucking nightmare. So I've got my man fucking in, my marketing guy in New Zealand. So he listened to a couple of episodes and he's like, you should really do something more with this podcast. He's like, there's a story here. We need to get the story out of it. So he fucked around one weekend and he sent me just a little mock fucking animation that went to the first episode of my podcast, and it didn't look like me or anything. It was just a fucking mock-up, and it looked fucking great. I was like, yes, let's fucking do that. And he's like, all right, let's fucking do it. So he uses this fucking cartoon generator type thing. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I needed to take a whole bunch of photos for him. So on Saturday, I did like 500 photos. Just of me posing, different angles, different fucking clothes, outside, inside, just so many fucking photos, just so he can plug this in so you can get like a fucking model of me. So he's been fucking around with it, and the last few days he's been fucking sending me the computer generated images of me, and I swear to God, not one has even come fucking close to me. I look like 3 different people when I take a photo. It's definitely a hard head to capture because you look at me front on and you're like, okay, that's what he looks like. Then you get the profile picture and you're like, wow, that's a completely different fucking person. And then in different lights, I look different. Like, I can't be cartooned. I can't. You know those artists that draw on the side of the road, like your portraits and shit like that at like markets? Every single time I've had my fucking face drawn, it's been an absolute disaster. Even the artist is like, I don't know what's wrong with your head, man. They're like, I look at it, I draw, and then I look up and you're a different person. A fucking chameleon. So the last 2 days has just been, I've received like 50 cartoon versions of my head and my body. The body's coming out right. Most of them I have like a 12 pack, which is very accurate, but the head is just way off. I would love to fucking post them. Maybe I'll chuck them on the Patreon, actually. I'll chuck a few of my favorites on the Patreon, and you all can tell me which ones you like the best. They're so fucked. So I'm just going through them and I'm like, I can't have the cartoon looking nothing like me. It can't look better than me either. I can't have a fucking cartoon where the guy's like shredded, full head of hair, sharp features, fucking mesmerizing eyes, and then cunts get into the fucking podcast and the cartoon and come out and see me on stage and they're like, who the fuck is this cunt? Who is this jarring to look at motherfucker? If I'm going to have a cartoon, it's got to kind of look like me a little bit. But it's been kind of exciting doing this process. I need to fucking revamp the pod. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but something needs to be done. I've got to the point where I can just bang these out pretty fucking easily. There's no like real challenge to doing the podcast every day anymore, except just fucking doing it. I mean, I need to make it exciting for myself as well. Filming it, getting some clips, I'm getting all that started, doing this cartoon. I don't know, I feel like I'm not stretching myself. I need to stretch myself a bit further. I don't know, I'm going to have to fucking think about it. You either evolve or die in this game. I might have to make a little quick trip to New Zealand as well to get this modeling for this cartoon done. If my man can't fucking get me at least close to resembling me, I might have to fucking go over there and get the photos done and go, look, this is what I look like. I know my head looks weird in the photos, but this is actually what I look like because the fucking cartoons I've been receiving at the moment, not my fucking head. Anyway, I'll put those cartoons up on the Patreon. You can check them out if you're on the Patreon. And if you're one of the fucking 50-something decliners, You're going to have to undecline to look at my fucking cartoons. Anyway, it's Monday and it's time for a question. It is Ask Boyle time. So if you have a question that you would like answered by one of the greatest minds of the generation, comedian, philosopher, craney, Le Boyle, then head to my website. There is a section there for Ask Boyle. Type it out if you want to do that, or go to Drunk Dial and you can record your question and I'll play it on the podcast. Anyway, let's get to this week's Ask Boyle. So this question was sent in by my good friend out there in the USA, Matt fucking Shriver. So here it is. How have you explained you doing a podcast every day to your kids, especially the content of the podcast? If you have not done so yet, what will you tell them about it when they are of age / when they figure it out on their own and potentially listen to it? Basically, how are you going to manage the possible scenarios that could play out with the discovery of your podcast, your kids getting older and hearing it, and continuing to parent well, etc.? Well, Matty Shrive, dog, you have come to the right place. Well, that question comes at a very fucking good time because I actually was thinking about that the other day. I was like, what the fuck am I going to tell them? Because I was telling you that story on Friday about my son throwing away his sandwich and how I said to him, I'm like, I don't care about the sandwich. I used to throw away my sandwiches. I care about the lying. So ever since I said that, the last 3 or 4 days, my son's been like, but Dada threw his sandwiches away when he was a kid. I'm like, fuck, he's using this sandwich bullshit against me. What about when he finds out all the horrendous psychotic shit I did? How am I going to explain that? I had always thought about that, but I was like, I actually more or less started the podcast because I thought I was going to die. And I was like, if I can fucking leave this to my son, he can listen to it when I'm dead, and at least he'll get to know who I am and all that sort of shit. That was some of the reason I started the podcast. There's a multitude of reasons, but that's one of them. And now that I haven't died, I'm like, maybe I should have died. He doesn't know about it as yet. My daughter's only 2. She doesn't even know anything. My son knows I record something. He doesn't know. He's heard the word podcast, but he has no idea what it is. I think he knows I'm a comedian, but he also thinks I operate cranes as well. So I'm not too sure. The longer I can put it off for, the better. I'm hoping he never listens to it, to be honest with you. Until I die anyway. I want him to listen to it when I die. That would be nice. Then he'll get more of the story. But until then, he doesn't need to know any of the shit I did. Any of the stuff I talked about on the podcast. It doesn't need to come out. But there's no way to fucking shield him from it. The only thing I can really do is raise him well. Raise him in a loving, encouraging, healthy, supportive environment, and then there's no reason for him to follow the same path. The plan is for him not to have a childhood like mine. That's the plan. But Dad, you started drinking when you were 12. Yeah, I was raised by a fucking alcoholic mum and my dad wasn't there, all right? I had a couple of reasons. You don't have those reasons. He'll be growing up in a completely different environment to what I grew up in. So he won't really have the same excuses. He won't be able to use those excuses anyway. He might come up with his own excuses. I don't fucking know. That's the worry, is that he finds out about all this stuff. And my daughter as well. But I don't think daughters copycat their dads the same way sons potentially can. Yeah, the main concern is he listens to all this bullshit that I've talked about and it sounds, I don't know, fun. And then he tries to replicate all the bullshit. And yeah, the only way I can counteract that is teach him to be his own man, raise him well, direct his energy into like positive things, teach him a few fundamentals. I don't know. All I can really do is give him the best childhood I possibly can. As long as I don't fuck him up as a kid, and I'm doing everything I can to fucking avoid that. I monitor myself quite closely as a dad. And when I feel like I'm passing on bad habits or attitudes, I try my best to fucking change them. But kids, there's only so much you can really tell them. What they really follow is actions. They'll just copy you. So it doesn't matter what you say to them. If you tell them to work hard, they're not going to work hard unless they see you working hard. You can tell them to never give up, but if they see you giving up all the time, they're just going to give up. You can tell them to be brave, but unless they see you being brave, it's just words. So the only way I can really set the best example for my kids is through my actions, and I'm working on the actions, all right? I'm working on them. I'm trying my best. Anyway, thank you for the fucking disturbing question. I hope I fucking enlightened you a little bit. Anyway, that'll fucking do for today. If you're enjoying the podcast, give it a share around, and I'll see you the fuck later.